This video is on radians. There are two common units for measuring an angle. You're used to degrees, or maybe we'll say something like it is 10 degrees. The other common unit for measuring an angle is radians. To convert between the two, uh, pi radians is equal to 180 degrees, or 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi radian. Here, this word radian is your unit, sort of like this symbol for degrees is your unit. So pi amount of radians is equal to 180 degrees. So why exactly is 2 pi radians equal to 360 degrees? Well, the reason is based on the definition of radian, or how they came up with radian. Okay, so let's say that we have a random circle here, and the radius of this circle is exactly r long. So that means from the center going to the side is r long. And let's say then you cut a bunch of string, and each piece of string you cut it so it's exactly r long as well. And now we take our pieces of string and we put it along the outside of the circle. This is also known as the circumference. So I get my first piece of string, and I start it there, and I just go as far as I can, and it reaches about there. That's my first piece of string. Then I get my next piece of string, which is exactly r long, and I attach it, and it goes that far. And I just keep on doing that. Third piece of string, fourth piece of string, and I just keep on doing that, going all the way around the outside of the circle. My fifth piece of string ends right there. Then the sixth piece of string ends there. And then I'll have a little bit of space left. And if I measure it exactly, it will come out to be a little bit more than 0.283 of that string. So to go all the way around the whole circle, it would take me about 6.283 strings, each string being exactly r long, or the radius long. If I was going to do this exactly, I would notice that it exactly took 2 times pi number of strings. If I went to a calculator, 2 times pi, 6.283, etc., etc., etc. And that's exactly how many strings it takes to go all the way around. So this is why they defined radians as 2 pi is one full circle, or 2 pi is 360 degrees. All right. So now how do you convert from radians to degrees, or degrees to radians? How do you switch between those two measures of the angle? So if you wanted to change from degrees to radians, you would multiply by this. Pi radian divide 180 degrees. Because the top and the bottom of this fraction is equal, this is the same as multiplying by 1. So it will not change the how much, or the value of that angle. It just changes it from one type of unit, radians, to the other type of unit, degrees, or other way around. This would change from degrees to radians. Okay, so if you wanted to go from radians to degrees, you multiply by this exact same fraction, but just upside down. You notice these two fractions are the same, just upside down. So multiplying by this, you would change from radians to degrees. Let's do a couple of examples of this. Let's say that you have 20 degrees. That angle is the same as how many radians? So I start off with my 20, and I'm going to multiply by that. And once again, this right here is just equal to 1. And we know multiplying times 1 will not change the value. So at the end, my answer will be equal to this right here. Okay, so how do you multiply these two? When you're multiplying by a fraction, you're going to put 1 right here, because 20 degrees divided by 1 is equal to 20 degrees. And then you multiply the two tops of the fraction. So 20 times pi radians becomes 20 pi radians. And the bottom 1 times 180 degrees is 180 degrees. All right. Since we have degrees on top and on the bottom, those two things will cancel each other. And then if I were going to simplify 120 divided by 180, that's equal to 1 over 9. I can divide the top and the bottom by 20. 20 divided by 20 is 1. 180 divided by 20 is 9. So at the end, you have 1 times pi radian, which is just pi radian, and then on the bottom you have 9. So 20 degrees is the same as pi over 9 radians. Let's do it the other way around. Let's say you're told that your angle is pi over 9 radian big. You want to know how many degrees that is. I'm going to be multiplying by this exact same thing we did on the other side, but it is now upside down compared to the previous slide. Okay, so basically whichever one you have here is going to be the one that goes on the bottom. And the top and bottom should be equal to each other. So once again, I'm going to multiply these two fractions. The way you change radian into a fraction is radian over 1. So now the top is pi times radian times 180, which is just pi radian times 180. Bottom is 9 times 1 times pi radian, so 9 times pi times radian. Pi over pi just becomes 1. Radian divide radian just becomes 1 again. Now you have 1 times, 180 degrees, or 180 divided by 9 becomes 20 over 1. So my top is 1 times 20, which is 20. My bottom is 1 times 1, which is 1. 20 divided by 1 is 20. And I still have my degrees here, so I just put degrees right there. So those are examples of how you go from radians to degrees or degrees to radians. Last couple of things. If you're looking at something and you're unsure if it's a radian or a degree, basically, if you do not see this symbol for degrees, if you do not see this symbol for degrees, then, and it's supposed to be an angle, then it's a radian. So that's sort of the way I do it. Ideally, I personally think that they should just write the word radian and include the units there, but a lot of times you'll notice they do not. Example, this right here, sine of pi over 2. You know inside right there that that's going to be an angle. And because you do not see a degree sign there, you know this pi over 2 is a radian. Same thing over here. This is also an angle. And since there's no degree sign, I know this 2 is a radian. So if I want to know what cosine of 2 is, in my calculator, I make sure I have the radian symbol here. I make sure the radian symbol here is highlighted. And then if I want to know what cosine of 2 is, just record this is cosine of 2 radians. There we go. Okay. And final thing, abbreviation. Abbreviation is how you write something short. So the abbreviation for radian is just RAD, so that you don't have to write the whole thing.